Good evening. Oh, God, you've got to do a lot better than that. Good evening, everybody. Yeah, that's better. That's more like it. So, this is a little bit of a fun session, okay? I was asked by the 101 stream to come up and just talk about how I ended up here, okay? And I kind of looked back and thought, well, how did all this start? So I started with one picture, and then it was a second picture. And when I get to 722 images, I thought, I've probably got enough for the session now, okay? So I know I'm between you and the bar and dinner, so yeah, this is just a little bit of fun, okay? But a little bit like Mark talks about risk and all this type of stuff. I talk about attitude and aptitude, okay? And yeah, I know I am not the brightest person in this room or this hotel. I absolutely understand that. But there's going to be somebody, yeah, who's going to try really hard to outdo me for attitude, I'm telling you, okay? And it'll be a tough one to crack. But we're just going to have a chat about, yeah, how I ended up doing this over the years. Mark mentioned the charities. They're both very dear to two people on the GSE committee. The National Association of Blood Banks is what I do in my spare time. My wife does question what I call spare time, okay? And Limb Power was proposed by a lady in the committee, Sue Parsons, who's involved with this charity. Both great charities. We want to raise as much money as we can. And I'm going to pick on somebody in the audience because over the years he's become a really good friend. And at last year's conference, we were collecting money. And Greg Lotco from Broadcom went, Mark, this is all I've got left in my wallet. And I went, thank you, and put it in the bin. It was about $250, okay? But, yeah.
That was after the first 500.
Yes, exactly. Trust me, I would have liked to have seen Greg's expense report for last year's GSE conference, okay?
I can tell you what it was.
Zero. Thank you very much. But they're great causes, and we have over the years raised a tremendous amount of money. So, for me personally, where did this all start? Okay? Well, it actually started on May the 22nd, 1980. I was 16 years of age, okay? And I was leaving school. I was going to conquer the world. No, actually, I had no clue what at all I was going to do. And ending up being a mainframer was not on the agenda.
So I'll start the challenge.
Oh, thank you, Greg. Right, that's going to be a tough...
Because you can't count, that's 500.
Oh, okay, right, okay. So we've started the charity battle already. So, May the 22nd, 1980, I left school. It was actually a Thursday. We were planned to leave on the Friday. The school thought they would catch us all out and let us go on the Thursday. But we had somebody who knew, so we were prepared. Eggs and flour and all kinds, and shirts and writing, all kinds of stuff. But what else happened on the 22nd of May, 1980? Anybody want to have a guess?
2 years before my wedding anniversary?
2 years before Greg's wedding anniversary? No, the first game of Pac-Man was released. Yeah? I actually didn't know this until I put the presentation together. I went and looked it up, what else happened. So I left school that day. Sorry, Greg.
I wanted that.
Yeah? So this was the school. This is the best picture I could find. On the right-hand side was the girls' school. On the left-hand side was the boys' school. They kept us apart for a reason, okay? These are the football pitches and cricket pitches that I played football on for years and years. And you kind of think, well, what am I going to do? My dream was to join the British Navy. I'd been accepted into the Navy. I was going to do electronics and radio and radar. I'd passed all the tests, all the physical tests, all the aptitude tests and all of that. I was going in the Navy. And then they hit me with it. Yeah, but we don't start until the end of the year. And could you imagine my mother with me at 16 being at home for 6 months. Not going to happen. She says, get down the careers office and find something to do. So I ended up actually working at an engineering company for 6 months, GKN, because the UK government at the time had a thing called a youth training scheme, YTS. Jeff is laughing because he follows a similar story. So I get down to the careers office and I said, what's the deal? They said it's £23.50 a week to do the YTS, or £23.50 every 2 weeks to do nothing. Okay, I'm going on the training course. So off I went on the training course. And I ended up buying my first motorcycle because of this. Because part of the job was working a 3-shift system. So you'd work from 8 in the morning till 4 in the evening, 4 in the evening till midnight, and midnight through 8 in the morning. And it was about 8 miles to work, so I couldn't really walk. There wasn't any public transport at midnight. Dad, will you give me a lift? No, son, he said very politely. So I bought my first motorbike, and that's what started my addiction with motorcycles. So how many do I have today? 22. Oh, no, sorry, 23. I bought one the weekend here, 23. I'm glad, I am so glad my wife has left. Okay, so that was my very first motorcycle. Kawasaki Triple KH250. Mark talks about risk, okay? I said to one of my friends, I need to buy a scooter. He said, I've got a motorbike. Said motorcycle. I went up to his house. I jumped on the back of it. We went up the road. We came back. He jumped on the back. I went up the road and came back. I went from walking to 100 miles an hour with about 7 minutes of training. That was it. L plates front and back, because in 1980 you could ride a 250 motorcycle on L plates. Thank God they changed the law, okay? So that was my first motorcycle. Whilst I was on this YTS training course, and this is the thing for me when I'm looking at people and I want to bring them into the business and I want to get them enthused in doing this. It's about attitude. I walked in 8 o'clock, 8:15, one cold, wet morning into GKN, and there was the most miserable, grumpiest, miserable, horrible person I'd ever worked with. His name was Rod McLean, and he was brilliant, and he looked like death. And I said, you all right, Rod, what's up? He said, oh, it's been a tough night. Back in the day when we had proper spinning discs, HDA failure, he'd been there rebuilding disc volumes and catalogues and all of this. He'd been at it for about 8 hours overnight. I said, is there anything you want me to do? I'd love a cup of coffee. I was 16, you just did as you were told. I went off, coffee on the table. I said, anything else you want me to do? He said, you couldn't have a look at that job failure for me. I said, which one? Yeah, pre-SDSF, SysViewer, any of that stuff. This is TSO 3.8, job name, job number. Looked at it, went in, saw what the problem was, fixed it. I've done that one. We spent all day fixing batch problems. He walked out their office and went to what would become my boss's boss and said, just employ him. Because I said, I'll have a go. I didn't know nothing. Didn't know anything about it. But I knew when there was a comma missing. And I knew what SB37 was and ST37 was. Yeah, because that's all we were seeing. Yeah, space failures, data set not found problems because the catalogue was broken. So I started as a print room operator. Anybody ever used a decalator?
Hell yeah.
4 pieces of paper with carbon paper in the middle of them. You print on one, so you get one nice clear copy, and then 3 that you can't read shit on, okay? And you put them through a machine, and it tears out the carbon, and you end up with 4 nice prints. Unless it's 4 o'clock in the morning, and you really want to get home because you want to go out the next day, and you turn the decalator up and it's going da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Then you turn it da-da-da-da-da-da. And then all of a sudden, boom, there's paper everywhere. Okay? So I then became a trainee operator, senior operator. That was the most pivotal point in my career. Still at GKN. And one of the shift leaders, so we used to have a senior operator, a shift leader, and a shift manager. And the shift leader was going off to be a systems programmer. And we were all, oh my God, systems programmers. They actually understand those flashing lights on the machines and stuff like that. And the shift manager came to me and he said, Mark, he said, it's your job. You should be the shift leader. He says, but you're 19 and you've got spiky blue hair. He said, it's not going to happen. And at that point I thought, well, let's have a look what's out in the world. So, yeah, printed off in a FB80 data set, typed up my CV, printed it at 4 o'clock in the morning when nobody was watching, put it in the post, wrote an envelope, put a stamp on it, sent it off to a couple of, got 3 interviews. Great, got 3 job offers. Oh, perhaps I'm okay at this. So I went off and I got a job and I did a bit. And I left the job I had as a senior operator to go off and be a contract senior operator. Why? I left. The money was good, yes, but what was the motivating reason for leaving that job as a senior operator? Okay. It was 23 miles each way to work and I didn't like the travelling. Okay, I'll say no more. So I went off to be a contract senior operator. That's 120 miles down the road. And you went on a Monday and came back on a Friday or on a Saturday or Sunday. Then a contracts ops analyst. Then I got a job as an ops analyst. Then I became a trainee sysprog. Then a consultant. Then a systems programmer. And basically I was a tart for hire for I was a systems programmer for hire for many, many years. And then owned a few businesses. And over the years, worked at Vanguard and now at Vitali and at BMC and RSM. But the very first one I had was this little business here called Computability. And I thought I was the king of the castle. I've got my own business. Until you got to the end of the month, and you thought, oh, how am I going to pay myself? I haven't done any work this month. Gets a bit difficult, yeah. You learn very quickly what it's like to run a business. So I ended up doing all of this stuff. And that is really my sort of career as a mainframer right through till today. So May the 22nd next year, it'll be 44 years. I turn 60 in March the 3rd, the first day of Share in Orlando. It's going to be a good day. It's going to be a good day. It's going to be sunny and warm and we might have a beer. But the second part of the story is, well, how did you end up getting into this cyber stuff? And do you know what? Back in 1992, when I got into security, again, it was because of my biggest failing. My biggest failing, and I am so grateful my wife has left for the day, yeah, is I don't know how to say no, okay? My answer to everything is, yes, yeah, I'll have a go, don't mind. My boss phoned me up and said, Mark, we've got a client. Can you help? Yeah, what's up? He said, they need a RACF training class. And? Well, you know RACF, don't you? Yeah, of course I do. Of course I do. What do we need? We need a 4 or 5 day RACF training class for administrators with course notes and labs. And I'm thinking, great. I said, how long have I got to do it? 2 weeks. Sorry, we need to be delivering the course in 2 weeks. So I wrote this 4-day class then. 20 hours a day, Saturdays and Sundays, and did it. And actually got some decent feedback. But then, of course, the client turns around and says, well, can we have it again? Oh, and can you do one on DB2 security? But that's not RACF, that's internal. Yeah. Can you do one on kicks? That's internal security. Yeah, but it's just security. So that, again, is how I got into doing security stuff, because of my inability to say no. Okay? Because I said yes. And then all of a sudden I'm teaching classes on ACF2 and top secret because, you get the books. Okay, what do I need to teach them? And that's how you start. But back in 1992, the world was very, very different. Yeah? 3090 processor, launched in about 1990, 1991. Okay? These were the processors we were working on. Okay? They were huge, yeah? And they were fabulous. And we had what we called physical security, okay? Because if you wanted to get into our data centre, you had to get past that security guard at the front door, and it ain't happening. I don't care how much money you pay. Our fella at GKN, when I first started, was called Reg. And if he was in a bad mood, you got nowhere near that data centre. But there wasn't the concept then of TCP/IP. There wasn't an OSA card, yeah? If Chris was starting in that business on Monday morning, we knew where he was going to sit because we got a form. Chris is going to be sitting on the 3rd floor, office number 22, desk 10. Can you put a terminal on there and run the coax cable? It was easy, yeah? We relied on physical security. How many times I've dreamt of going back in time and finding out the person who invented TCP/IP for the mainframe, or ported TCP/IP to run on the mainframe, and invented the OSA card. Boom! Don't do it, yeah? Okay? Because back then, life was really, really simple. It was a completely different world. And I actually came across this website here called Information is Beautiful. And I think it might have been Jeff Cherrington from Rocket who pointed me at it. And he said, have a look at this. He said, there's some great images there. Now, it doesn't go back far enough, back to 1992. But this is what the security world looked like 2007 to 2010. Yeah? We hadn't even got started in 1992. There was no concept of a hacker or ransomware on the mainframe. You roll forward now. What do you think that picture looks like? It's very, very different, yeah? And that's how we've had to evolve as mainframers, yeah? And how all of the techies have evolved, because the world has changed, yeah? Because the bad actors don't know anything at all about mainframes, do they? They don't care. Oh, they're going to know. Trust me. Because you can go out there and you can Google mainframe hacking, mainframe pen testing, and there's a metric ton of stuff out there. So because of all of this, you pick up new stuff, and a lot of it's legislation. You end up talking about DORA. Yeah, the first time I Googled DORA, I got a cartoon character. I'm thinking, I'm not quite sure I'm where I need to be here. Yeah, the Digital Operations and Resiliency Act. I typed the full thing in, Mark. It works much better. Okay, but I've always been a techie. Yeah, my mum and dad used to shout at me all the time, what have you done to the TV? It's not working. Yes, I'll get it fixed tomorrow. I'm working on it. Yeah, or the VHS or the Betamax. Yeah, but I always wanted to be a techie. I love the pen testing side and the security assessment side of it. Yeah, I am not the best techie in the world. Absolutely not. But I hold my own when you sit there and somebody says, you won't get in. Oh, I love that. Yeah. Had somebody once say to me, Mark, you'll never hack our mainframe. Okay. There are a few people in the room who know this story. Yeah. So I sat there and we assumed that I'd broken in, done a bit of social engineering or a bit of Wireshark, and I'd managed to find an IP address, a mainframe user ID and password of a non-privileged user. So I logged on and I got to the ready prompt. I'd got no ISPF, no SDSF, nothing. And we started the clock. And the deal was, if I couldn't break in or elevate my privileges, in 4 hours, I would take the whole team out, buy them beer and curry. Which I'm known to do, so that wasn't a bad thing. But if I did get in, they bought the beer and curry. How long? Start to finish, and I messaged them on Teams. Oh, by the way, I've just dropped my own little bit of code in this APF authorised library. And he came back and he went, oh, SH1T. Okay? Start to finish. 6 minutes and 30 seconds. Game over. Okay? So having the right attitude and the right aptitude is all about just having a go sometimes. Okay? I taught my first pen testing class, yeah, shortly after that RACF class, probably about 98, 99, at the Vanguard conference, yeah. Full class, loads of people, loads of techies, and it was great fun all day, 8 o'clock Saturday morning. Everybody's really bleary and tired, but we had a whole lot of fun. And then we did it again and again, and I've been doing it ever since. But today, it really is a different world. And a lot of it is driven by regulations. Because if the regulators weren't kicking our backside, would we really take security in the mainframe world as seriously as we do today? I don't think we would. Yeah? You've got DORA, you've got GDPR, you've got PCI, you've got all kinds of different things going on that drive what we do. And this stuff doesn't keep me awake at night. It helps me sleep because I spend most of my day trying to work out what some of it means. Okay? And, you know, you get to an age, you get a little bit tired. I've thoroughly enjoyed what I've done over the years. There are a lot of young faces in here, okay? The average age of this conference today has gone down by about 33 years, I think, yeah, with the students that we've got. And, you know, it's a great place to be. There are some of us who want to retire. How did that work out for you, Mark? Said my wife. Not too sure. 4.5 weeks I lasted. 4.5 weeks I lasted before when I retired. Okay? Look, I don't want to keep you too long. Personally, I thoroughly enjoy this. I get a great sense of pride walking down the local high street or the shopping mall and go, customer, oh, I hacked their system, or I tested their system, or, yeah, sorry. So, just before we finish, okay, anybody ever been to Dublin? Okay, they love to chat, the Dublin folks, okay, especially the taxi drivers, okay. Pre the Celtic tiger falling on its backside, when you turned up at Dublin Airport, you could wait for 4 hours to get a taxi into Dublin Airport, okay. I didn't have as much money as Greg, I didn't have a driver, okay, but... Yeah, you drove the F1 car, drove it very well as well. Yes, you drove it very well. But once you actually got in the taxi, to get into downtown Dublin could take you anywhere up to 2 hours. So you chat away. And this guy said, well, what are you doing? I said, oh, I'm working at one of the banks. And obviously I'll get in the taxi and say to him, can you take me here, which is the bank? He said, oh, I've got my account with him. I thought, I know what's coming. I just know what's coming. So you do IT security? Yeah. Could you clear my overdraft? I'm thinking. He said, I'd look after you. I'm thinking, yeah, I know there's a lot of people who take me outside and do terrible things to me, but yeah, and this is not aimed at, you know, the more senior folks in the world. This is in this room. It's not aimed at you. It's aimed at the youngsters. This is a great place to be. My younger brother is 5 years younger than me, okay? And he's a builder. And he came home he came to my house the other night and he'd been out all day in the rain, yeah? Digging a hole, building a wall, doing all this stuff. And he's good. He's also this wide because his shoulders are literally this big from the work. And I look at him and think, not in a million years. I've been stood at home all day with my shorts on, my T-shirt, my AC/DC T-shirt on, my slippers, listening to music, working, yeah? It's hard work, it's stressful, it's mentally challenging. You've got to have the right attitude for it. You've got to have a bit of aptitude. But this is such a great place to be and work. And I can tell you now, mainframes aren't going anywhere, okay? My boss in 1980, when we put the first MS-DOS computer on the desk, he said, you want to learn something else as well, Mark? Because not too sure these mainframes are going to be around forever. I can tell you now, that mainframe technology that we use today will outlive everybody in this room, even the youngsters, and some more. So, with that, I'm not going to stop you going to the bar, but just in case, does anybody have any questions or comments? Does anybody disagree with me that this is a great place to work in this technology? No, see. And by the way, youngsters, it pays really, really well. It pays really, really well, okay? And you get the chance to travel. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Enjoy your dinner. Be back here early in the morning.